guys, Broheen here from the Gamers Emporium channel, bringing you another video. Let's see, let me get in focus of the webcam here. So, bringing you another video on Diablo 3 on PS4. We're doing a video on a beginner's guide to the God mode Whirlwind Barbarian. So, take a looking at our gear right away. So this set is sort of a combination between Immortal King's 2-piece and Wrath of the Wastes 6-piece. So ideally for this build you want Immortal King's helmet and you want Immortal King's belt. Now I haven't been so lucky to get the belt, but I do have the pants and I do have partial waist set. I have the waist chest piece, I have the waist feet, and I have the waist shoulders. So let's go through the sets. So the key things here is that this, as far as waists go, the 2-set piece increases your damage of rend by 500% and increases duration to 15 seconds. So rend gets pretty overpowered and it helps a lot. Set number 4, or the 4-piece set, during Whirlwind you gain a 40% damage reduction that I have, so my survivability while whirlwinding is through the roof. And this is where it gets really OP, is the Whirlwind gains the effect of the Dust Devil's rune for the 6-piece set, and it also increases the Dust Devil's damage by 2500% weapon damage. So that is pretty freaking OP. But what really makes this work is the Immortal Kings set. Immortal Kings, the 2-piece, you get Call of the Ancients until they die. So Call of the Ancients is basically how you're going to constantly regenerate your Fury. This build typically won't work without it, but you can run this build without it. There are other ways around it, but so we're going to call this beginner's guide to God mode Barbarian with, just a couple pieces. And basically we've been playing for a couple days since I got it on PS4. It's only been a couple days, and we're at Paragon 169, and by this time you almost should have this amount of gear. If not, try to get the gear that I'm saying in here. So again, starting with the helmet, you want the Immortal King's helmet. For the chest you want waists, shoulders you want waists. For the gauntlets, ideally you want waists for that as well, but I don't have it yet. For the weapons, you want Balcathos Solemn Val and Balcathos' Warrior Blood. So what these are going to do, these are also a set. You gain plus 10 Fury generation, and you also gain 30% increased attack speed and movement speed during Whirlwind. So attack speed on this build is going to be key. You want to stack on your gear as much attack speed as you can, because the more attack speed you get, the more whirlwinds that you can put, or the more dust devils you can put out. So that's kind of cool thing to know there. Again, you want Immortal King's belt. You want not Immortal King's. You don't want Immortal King's pants. However, I have them now, but you want Wastes pants and Wastes feet. For rings, typically I use Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, because you basically have one thing on cooldown. You put your Ancients up, and they stay up all the time because of your Immortal Kings. So you don't have to worry about that cooldown. Basically, Wrath of the Berserker is your damage boosting ability. It's a cooldown, and every time that you use a resource spending attack, which with Whirlwind is all of the time, it's reducing your cooldown of that more or less by 1 second. The other ring, you need a Royal Ring of Grandeur for this to work for your 6-piece bonus. For your bracers are kind of up in the air. You can use kind of whatever you want for it. Hellfire Amulet for the Ami. And that about sums up the gear. Now we'll get into the skills, and some of this will start making some more sense. So, sprint, you want to increase your movement speed, because this God mode build is basically one of the fastest solo clearing Greater Rift classes you can play. So you want to put Marathon on that to increase the movement speed bonus to 40% for 4 seconds instead of the 30 for 3. Battle Rage is 20 fury costs 20 fury, and it's a shout, lasts for 2 minutes or 120 seconds, and increases damage by 10%. Now we use the bloodshed rune on this, so critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of the damage done to all other nearby enemies. So this build obviously very area attack. So it's got a lot of area attack all the time and attacks very fast. Call of the Ancients is the next one. Again, 120 second or 2 minute cooldown. Summons these guys, and you want to use Ancient's Fury rune to gain 4 Fury every time an Ancient deals damage. Wrong button. Sorry. Rend costs 20 Fury as well, and it does a radius around you of 12 yards. Causes everything to bleed for 1100 weapon damage as physical over 5 seconds. Now that gets increased by 500%, and the time is increased to 15 seconds because of your bulk cath, or not bulk cathos, because of your 2 set wastes. So Wrath of the Berserker, again another 2 minute or 120 second cooldown. You basically go into a rage and raises a bunch of attributes, which is critical hit chance by 10%, attack speed by 25%, dodge chance 20%, and your movement speed by 20%. And then we use the Insanity rune for an increase also of another 50% increased damage. Now you could use... where is it? You could use Striding Giant if you're having a problem staying alive. You'll sacrifice that extra 50% damage, which is a pretty substantial amount. However, you'll reduce all damage you take by 50% while using Wrath of the Berserker. And this cooldown should go by really fast because you have, Rend has no cooldown, your Battle Rage has no cooldown, your Call of the Ancients will have a cooldown the first time you cast it, but you should never have to cast it a second time, so no cooldown there. And Sprint will have a 3 second or 4 second cooldown now, but that's very minimal. So the only thing that's really staying on cooldown is Wrath of the Berserker, and that Obsidian Ring is going to take a second off of that for every 10 Fury that you spend. So now, the bread and butter, Whirlwind. It costs 10 Fury, you spin around like a madman, and you deal a bunch of damage via the Whirlwind attack itself, plus the Dust Devils that you leave behind. So now, with your waist set, you get Dust Devils just because you have the waist set complete. So for now, since I don't have that, we are using Dust Devils. In the end, we'll use probably Blood Funnel, just for extra survivability. You can use Wind Shear if you still find yourself running out of Fury. You can use any one of these, but the main thing is, though, overall, looking back on this build, you'll notice everything is physical damage. So you want to stack physical, which means that if you're going to gain 1 Fury, Whirlwind's damage is going to turn into Lightning, which is going to actually not be very beneficial for you. Blood Funnel, it will still remain physical, as well as the Tornadoes and Dust Devils still physical. So definitely stacking physical damage here. There's a few things you can do with Whirlwind, but that's basically the build. So now, looking at my Hellfire Amulet, my Hellfire has the Ruthless passive on it. Wrong button again. So, for the first passive, we're using Nerves of Steel. For the second passive, we're using Brawler. So, I should say Nerves of Steel, your basic, if you die, it sends you back up to a certain amount of life and gives you reduced reduction. It's basically your free revive. Brawler, as long as there's 3 enemies within 12 yards of you, all your damage is increased by 20%. Boon of Bolcathos reduces all your cooldowns of, in this situation, Call of the Ancients and Wrath of the Berserker by 30 seconds. And Rampage, which increases your strength by 1 for 8 seconds after killing or assisting in killing an enemy, any enemy. This effect stacks up to 25 times, so you could have potentially all the time a 25% strength increase, which is a very substantial amount as well. So now let's find that Ruthless. Ruthless is in here somewhere. Give me a second to find it here. There it is. Ruthless, right next to the first one. Ruthless, you deal 40% additional damage to enemies below 30% health. So basically, it's like a kind of a kick 'em while they're down type mechanic here. So once they hit below 30%, you're going to start doing, you know, a lot. You're going to start doing 40% more damage on top of that. So Rift Guardians, goodbye, more or less. And speaking of Rift Guardians, I mean, this build is good for Rift Guardians. It's very mobile, but it does tend to take down Rift Guardians a little bit slower, but as far as the clear times in the Rift goes, you'll eat through the trash with just crazy speed. And it is so much fun. Once you start whirlwinding and you never have to stop, you're never going to want to stop. So very, very, very awesome. So the Paragon, the same as my Witch Doctor, I kind of have it built sort of the same way, except in the core, you know, I've got my movement speed, probably not increased enough, but you want to increase your movement speed ideally to 25%. And I go with Maximum Fury because every now and then I still do run out. That was my fix for it. But now that I have my two-piece Immortal Kings, I could probably swap all that Max Fury into Strength and be doing more damage there. Cooldown reduction, I do still take cooldown reduction because I want that Wrath of the Berserker up as close to 100% of the time as I can. The next thing that you're basically going to go for, well, what I'm going to go for next is going to be the critical hit chance until I get my six piece waist set. Once I get my 6-piece waist set, I'll more than likely stack all that into attack speed so I get more Dust Devils. In the utility slot, we're doing resource cost reduction because without resource cost reduction, you're still going to chew through all that fury. And in between fights, you know, you kill one pack of enemies, and let's say you got 10 seconds before you run into the next. You'll actually run down your fury close to empty with the standard cost of Whirlwind. So usually what you do is you keep whirlwinding and keep moving, keep sprinting and whirlwinding at the same time just to keep up moving and clearing as fast as you can in a rift. Under defense, we're stacking everything into armor still here because we want that extra damage reduction. So keep in mind while you're whirlwinding, your damage reduction is already increased by 40%. This armor is going to go right on top of that as well and reduce damage from all sources. So that's pretty much it. This is what Whirlwind looks like. You can kind of aim the Dust Devils whatever way you're looking the Dust Devils are going to go. So let's say my flag there's the Rift Guardian, and let's say it's the Sledgehammer guy or whatever, the Mallet Lord guy. You don't want to get close because he's going to smash you. So you can sit here. We'll go from a different angle. You can sit here and you can actually run these Dust Devils like this into him and sort of be a ranged attack, which is kind of cool. Call up your Ancients. They'll get up close and personal. They last until they die. If they die, which they rarely ever do, just recast them. Not a big deal. Your Wrath of the Berserker, the way that looks, you kind of turn into Super Saiyan-ish, I guess, for you DBZ fans. So everything's increased that way too. And then Rend. Basically, as you're whirlwinding, you want a quick Rend. You know, keep doing that, cover everybody with Rend. Now what Rend will do, now your Rend will actually spread. I'm not sure if I went through that with Rend. I think it's the Bloodbath, so enemies kill while bleeding, cause all enemies within 10 yards to begin bleeding, so yes, it does spread once you kill one. So if you Rend right here, and then you kill these guys, anybody that's standing around, you know, the outside area here for 10 yards, which I'm going to go ahead and say is about 1/8 of the length of your screen. Roughly, I don't know the actual numbers, but Rend will spread to those guys, and then I believe once you kill them, it's done and you have to reset it. I think it only spreads once off the initial Rend. So, but don't quote me, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But the way I've noticed is Rend does not continually, like, you know, jump from person to person to person after you kill them. So that's pretty much it. So now you know the gear, and you basically know how to, you know, be a beginner barbarian and on your way to God mode, more or less, because they call it God mode because it literally is God mode, and you rarely ever die with this spec once you have all the gear. So, but I will keep you updated on my gear once I get all the gear, if I ever get all the gear. God forbid these console legendary drop rates, my god. If I ever get all the gear, I will update these guides, and I will definitely make guides for the higher end riffs and griffs. So, but again, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you liked the video. I had fun making it. So, I enjoy, letting you know how to do something on here, because not everybody is, I sure as hell am not that good at designing builds. Especially for Diablo, I see a lot of builds online on forums and on other YouTube channels, and I kind of just pass the word along. But beginner's guides I can do. I can tell you how to start off. So hopefully you guys appreciate that, and we'll like, subscribe, comment, get your friends to check them out, and help them be on their way to be God mode barbarians too. So thanks again for watching, and have an awesome day.